Sleepers, breakouts, and busts at starting pitcher. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, February 17th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White. Let's take a look at some sleepers, breakouts, and busts at starting pitcher. Scott, kick us off with a sleeper.
All right, sleeper for me is going to be Clay Holmes, new signing of the New York Mets.
Boo. No,
we know Clay Holmes is a closer, of course, and on and again, off again closer for the Yankees. So I think there's a lot of lingering frustration. He ended his tenure there, off again, the closer role. But I will note that he had a 3.14 ERA last year. Pretty good. He had a 2.69 ERA during his whole time as a reliever with the Yankees, even better. The ERA was good for Clay Holmes. He was good at run prevention. And the reason for that is because he was a 65% ground ball guy. The only full-time starter that can really compare to that kind of ground ball rate is Framber Valdez. So elite ground ball skills here for Clay Holmes. And we've seen before from pitchers over the years, Emmanuel Clase being a notable exception, when you put a ground ball pitcher in the closer role, it can make for some stressful innings because he's not missing as many bats, obviously, and the kind of hits, the kind of contact that's being made off him isn't always easy outs like fly balls would be. So some of those ground balls are sneaking through. And so when the game, it's the highest stress moment and the game is on the line, rallies can develop in a way that really stick with you, in a way that's really magnified in the closer role. But if it's the same pitcher being stretched out over multiple innings and not the highest pressure, highest leverage innings, it's less of an issue. Again, 3.14 ERA, 2.69 ERA, that's last year, and then over his entire career with the Yankees. That's what that 65% ground ball rate yields. So as long as Clay Holmes doesn't give up too much in the way of stuff with this transition from a relief role to a starting role, I think he's going to be a really good option in fantasy. And we saw a lot of pitchers make a successful transition from bullpen, from relieving to starting last year. I think he'll be in a case of that this year.
Yeah, exact point I was going to bring up. Garrett Crochet, Michael King, Ronaldo Lopez also all had great seasons transitioning from reliever over to starter. Worth mentioning that Clay Holmes is a relief pitcher to start the season on CBS, but should gain that starting pitcher eligibility early on.
So even better for points leagues with that relief pitcher eligibility.
100%. A sleeper for me is going to be Bowden Francis, an ADP of 211.8. He's the SP 64 off the board. And last season, he got a chance to be in the Blue Jays rotation early on in the season. He did not pitch well. He was sent down to the minors. He was recalled back in June. He pitched out of the bullpen. He was reinserted back into the rotation on August 7th. I think mostly out of necessity. They just needed some arms. Final 9 starts, he was maybe the best pitcher in baseball. A 1.53 ERA, a .53 whip, 8.5 K per 9, awesome control during this time, only 7 walks over 59 innings. He also allowed just 24 hits because he gets a lot of fly balls. He has this, vertical approach, angle fastball. He took a no-hitter into the 9th inning twice in a 3-week span, Bowden Francis did. He relies on that fastball. He throws it 50% of the time. Good extension, good IVP, good spin on the pitch. He added a splitter last year. Didn't get big whiffs, but it was incredible on balls in play. His slider might have some potential as a whiff pitch. He didn't use it all that much. So, look, I don't know that this is going to work out for Bowden Francis, but people are basically leaving him for dead. I mean, he's going outside the top 200, and again, he might have been the best pitcher in baseball over the final 2 months of the season. So I will use a pick that late to find out if maybe that was just a turning point in Bowden Francis's career.
Yep, I will too. Co-signed to that.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
Yeah, we always find our way back home.
Welcome back in FBT Express. Scott, give me a breakout at starting pitcher.
Breakout is Mackenzie Gore, former top pitching prospect in baseball, who's had kind of a rocky start to his major league career. He did just have his best season, 3.90 ERA, 1.42 WHIP, 9.8 K per nine. It was still kind of iffy for fantasy purposes, but you break down the season, it's a little more interesting. Started out great, really rough in the middle of the season, and then spectacular at the end. And what I read last year, he made reference around the time he turned things around at the end of last season. He made reference to some unspecified medical issue he was dealing with and credited the training staff for him getting over that. Don't know exactly what it was, but it was happening during that middle portion of the season that caused his numbers to inflate. What happened thereafter, that final stretch, 7 starts for Mackenzie Gore, 1.55 ERA, 0.91 WHIP, 10 K per nine. He threw 66% of his pitches for strikes. That's very good, compared to 61% in the 11 starts prior. That's very bad. Just 5 percentage points, I know, but 66 is above average. 61 is near the bottom of the spectrum. So huge improvement in control there in this final 7 starts for Mackenzie Gore. And again, 1.55 ERA, 0.91 WHIP, 10 K per nine. Beyond that slicing and dicing and the potential that getting past that medical issue helped him find a new gear. Just looking at Mackenzie Gore's overall stats, 340 BABIP is what he allowed last year. That's the second highest among qualifying pitchers. So we have potential for growth, potential of just timing with injuries there affecting his stats, and bad luck on top of it. I think Mackenzie Gore, with his pedigree, is pretty good bet to break out.
All right, for me, the breakout is going to be Spencer Arrighetti. I actually would have chose Spencer Schwellenbach here, but we did players we love on Valentine's Day, so I didn't want to talk about Schwellenbach again, but I do really like Spencer Arrighetti. You might look at the full season numbers and say, 4.53 ERA, 1.41 WHIP. What is going on here? Well, he got better as the season went along. A final 15 starts, a 3.31 ERA, 1.18 WHIP, 11 K per nine, and the walks came down. 3.1 walks per nine, still a little bit high, but much better than what it was early on in the season. He has 3 pitches with a whiff rate over 37%. The Astros typically do a good job with pitching development. We just saw breakouts last season from Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco. Spencer Arrighetti basically broke out in the second half, but he's not really being treated like it right now for fantasy. The ADP is outside of the top 200. So another name there, Arrighetti, Bowden Francis. If you want to take some late round flyers on these guys, I do like both quite a bit. Scott, bring us home with a bust at starting pitcher.
The biggest bust of all is Jacob deGrom. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. Obviously, deGrom's been a consequential pitcher, to say the least. And we're happy to have him back after Tommy John surgery. But people are drafting him about 50th overall. I don't know that I'd take him 100th overall. There's just, he hasn't thrown 100 innings since 2019. Okay, and I know what we saw with Chris Sale last year gives us hope that multi-year stretches with injury, that a pitcher can overcome that. It was a lot of freaky, fluky stuff for Sale, the injuries over the 4-year span where he was missing time. For deGrom, it coincided, the stretch of injuries coincided with him throwing his fastball 2 miles per hour harder on average. He decided to do that in 2020 for whatever reason and just stuck with it. And ever since, it's been constant elbow, forearm, and shoulder problems. It just doesn't seem like his body can hold up to that kind of velocity. And so even if he's back 36, Tommy John surgery, even if he's all the way back, I don't think he'll be all the way back for long. I think he will miss most of the season. And so to invest a top 50 pick in that, I think is just crazy, no matter how good he'll be on an inning per inning basis.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.